Results are in from last night's primary elections. The first time Americans went to the polls since Roe versus Wade was overturned. Here to tell us more, ABC News political reporter Brittany Shepherd. So, Brittany, abortion is on the ballot, and it could be a game changer going forward. But what about last night? What did we learn?
Well, Kira, we learned not only is it a game changer, is how far abortion and the repeal of Roe will animate Democratic voters in really tough primaries. And for that, I think we need to go to a really small special election in Nebraska's 1st district. There, a Republican won. His name was Mike Flood, and he won against Democrat State Senator Patty Pansing Brooks. That's a mouthful. And there you'd say a Republican won. What does that have to do with abortion? Well, in the 11th hour, when the SCOTUS decision came down last week, Pansing Brooks went to her voters, came to Twitter, came to Facebook, and said, this is an integral vote. This is a Republican district. Trump won by 11 points. Our friends at 538 put it Republican up 17 points. It's as red as you can get in a swingy part of Nebraska. And she was able to close that gap just to 7 points, which makes national Democrats very happy, because even though they weren't expecting to pick up a seat, they see opportunity to replicate this kind of closing, or in their hopes, flipping of special districts in primaries, all in August and September, and hopefully in November. We also saw something really interesting in the Colorado Senate race. There we saw Joe O'Dea. It's hard for me to call him a pro-abortion Republican, but he's as pro-abortion as we're going to see these days. He is against abortion in the 3rd trimester, but said a choice between a woman and God to get an abortion in the 1st, 2nd trimester is A-OK with him. And that kind of centrist opinion on abortion was attractive to Republicans there in Colorado. And he was able to make it past his primary last night.
That's a glass half full perspective, but for sure, it was Bill Clinton who said famously that abortion in America should be safe, legal, and rare, and that did seem to capture the middle of the country. How many Democrats can actually campaign on that, given where progressives are and how exercised women are, we'll see. But what about November? I mean, is abortion really, you've asked the question, it drove Republican turnout for decades. It's a harder issue for Democrats, because what exactly are they standing for? Roe versus Wade is gone, so they too have to take a position on what the lines are, what, if any, and how that will resonate with their voters. How do Democrats do in November with this issue, do you think?
Well, Terry, you're absolutely right. I think Democrats are looking at the stakes they have now. Look at Joe Biden's approval ratings in the dumpster for the most part. They know that they don't have a lot of wins to sail into November with, so that they are hoping to take abortion, make it an animating issue. Republicans say there's this red wave. Well, Democrats need a blue firewall, and they need one really high. And they believe they can get that with abortion. And now that abortion is once again a state rights issue, Democrats are really hoping to get gubernatorial incumbents to stay and to flip critical swing states. So you look at Michigan with Gretchen Whitmer. She's very, very, very vulnerable right now. Republicans throwing mondo bucks, millions and millions of dollars to flip that seat. Whitmer on the front line saying, I will make abortion a critical issue if you reelect me. She's already sued her state to that end and is, willing to go above and beyond to protect a woman's right to choose in her state. Democrats are also hoping that there's going to be lots of money, like a protest vote, coming into red and purple states like Texas. And I know we've been saying Texas will flip for the last, 20 years, last 10 cycles. But Democrats are hoping that someone like Beto O'Rourke, who is trailing against incumbent Governor Greg Abbott, that abortion will animate his platform, get him a lot of money, and maybe show that Texas can be purple come November, because it's not really a Senate issue anymore. This is a state house issue. And if Democrats cannot get governors and lieutenant governors in the House where they need them to be, in the state house, then, it's going to be curtains for them.
We also covered Colorado, and far-right candidates lost more moderate Republicans in their primaries. Let's talk about the importance of that and the impact of that now going forward.
Yes, both for Senate and for the governor's race in Colorado, we saw more centrists. I mean, what can you call a centrist Republican these days? Anyone who's perhaps, believes that the election was duly processed and that Joe Biden is president, and perhaps is a little bit more, moderate on immigration, were able to best their races. You see Joe O'Dea right there. I think it shows that Republicans are less hardened to Trump as we once thought. I wrote about this just a few days ago. Trumpism is still playing hot on the ballot, but allegiance to Trump is dead. And I think that Republicans are wondering what kind of fealty that will play out in other Republican races that coming in August. We have lots of hot ones coming up there. And that barking about election denierism and conspiracy theories just doesn't play with the Republican base like it did 2 years ago. And that should scare Trump-endorsed candidates who believe that they could just sail with his name, especially with what's happening during January 6 hearings. His stock is plummeting and plummeting, we're seeing.
Maybe. It depends on where you go. I mean, I
Right.
think obviously there's a rock-solid base that'll lie down in traffic for him. And the rest of the Republicans, frankly, what the Republican sale is going to be, things were better under Trump. Biden's a disaster. By every metric, things were better under Trump. And he will be able to take that to the bank. Now, he's got this, what for many people is a crippling deficit, which is that he tried to overthrow the country. But how many Republicans are going to vote for Joe Biden or stay home, or vote for Democrats or stay home, rather than push the agenda that they believe in and that they want? I mean, I think that's a tough sell to a lot of Republicans, that he's dead.
Well, Terry, who votes? Angry people vote. Sad people vote. Stressed out people vote. And there are Republicans who were watching January 6th hearing, granted between their job and living their life, who are becoming more and more less enthused by the power. The emperor is wearing less and less and less clothes to them. And you're right, there are folks who will say, he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and we don't care. I believe those folks probably not engaged primary voters. But when you're looking at what happened last night, 5 of the 35 Republicans who voted for the bipartisan commission that ended up dying, and now we have the bipartisan committee-ish that we're seeing January 6th. 4 out of the 5 survived their primary challengers. 9 retired. Looks like we have 16 out of 35 who are going to make it, at least into November contest. That is looking good for the anti-Trump Republican. It means that the Republican constituency is no longer wed. It's no longer some kind of Stockholm Syndrome relationship. But you're right. There's a lot of news cycles that can happen between now and then, right? But
Yeah.
if you're an anti-Trump Republican, oh yeah, exactly. The affair is dying down, I think, if you look at last night.
Maybe.
Okay, stay tuned. We could talk about this for a long time, no doubt. Brittany Shepherd. All right, great analysis. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.